What's a fun tool that will guide you to spend more purposefully? Welcome to Living the Savvy Life, where you can learn how to define the life you want to live and create a plan to fund it. My name is Melissa Tosetti, and this is my colleague.
Hi, I'm Kevin Gibbons.
Kevin, do you want to introduce our topic, the specific tool today?
Sure. This is a time when you may think that you can't actually be making a lot of purchases. Either the stores are closed, you may not have the money because of the current financial situation, but this will end. At some point, we're going to want to buy things again. And if you want to do that, you need to have a plan. This is the time to make that plan so that when you can go purchase those things, you're doing so, again, in a more purposeful manner. And the tool that we're going to talk about today is your spending book, which is the thing that really enables you to have an organized plan on how you're going to spend to purchase the things that you really want to purchase. Melissa, you want to talk a little bit in detail about what goes into a spending book and how it's useful?
I'd love to. So this tool we've been talking about for a solid 10 years now, a decade. And it's one of the most powerful tools, I believe, to help you to spend in a straight line, to define what it is that you want to spend on a day-to-day basis, and then actually to focus on those particular purchases. And all it is just a simple blank notebook, right? Something like this or something like this. And you're going to write down the things you want to buy. So this isn't where you're going to put your grocery list, okay? This is more along the lines of the more pleasurable purchases that you want to make. You could list the clothing items that you want to add to your wardrobe or that you want to replace in your wardrobe. You could add the home decor items that you want to make sure that you're adding to, and specifically the specifics about those items. For example, if you want to buy a frame for something that you purchased at, a festival, when we go to things like those again, right? Art and wine festival, and you buy this beautiful piece of art, but it doesn't have a frame. Well, you can measure the dimensions of that so that when you go out, you have all the information that you need to buy the frame you want to buy. So it's just details like that where we have a tendency to kind of trip along, right? And remember at the last minute, sometimes as we're driving home from the store where we could have purchased that item at, right? Or we go to a store and we're going along and, things are going into our cart that aren't necessarily things that we really want. They're just things that are caught our attention in the moment versus taking a step back and really thinking through what it is that you want to bring into your home, into your wardrobe. So that's an introduction, basic introduction to this specific tool.
One thing that we've talked about before is also the idea of, have you ever gone to a restaurant and on the way back said, yeah, that's our favorite restaurant. We go there once a month or something. But darn it, I really wanted to try that new restaurant. All right. Or I really wanted to go, I guess people still go to the movies. And that's it's not quite as popular as it used to be. Or I really wanted to go see that movie and it's out of the theaters now. The purpose of the spending book is to remind you of the experiences you want to enjoy and the purchases that you want to make.
We talk about all the time, we write about all the time that living a savvy life, it's more about just being smart with your money, spending purposefully with your money. It's about spending your time purposefully as well. That's something very early on that we've learned, the correlation between time and between money. And so when we first introduced this tool 10 years ago, it was all about money. It was all about money. And after about a year or so, we realized how powerful it is to be able to, again, list those experiences. Yeah. Most of us only have 2 days on the weekend, if we're lucky, to be able to relax and enjoy experiences. Most people still, unfortunately, only have about 2 weeks in a year for vacations. We better use that time very wisely. And unfortunately, too often, and we hear this with clients all the time, too often they're at the end of the day, it's like, okay, well, what do you want to do tomorrow? What do you want to do on the weekend? And there's, it's this, I don't know, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? And well, let's see what we decided on in
Yeah.
the past, right? Another example of this is my in-laws were kind enough to retire to wine country in the in Sonoma County. And I think they're in Sonoma County. Anyway, it's beautiful wine country, California wine country. And one of the things I really enjoy doing is going to wineries. And I will read about a wine, a new winery or a winery that has a specific theme to it in the local paper. And I will actually write it down in my spending book, even though I'm not going to go see my in-laws, well, till the pandemic's over. But even though I'm not going to typically see them for a couple of months, especially because of that, I want to make sure that I write down the name of that winery, because you throw a stone in that area and you'll hit a winery. And I will never in a million years remember this experience that I actually really do want to have. Even though I want to have it, I'm not going to remember it, right? You have the same experience, right, Kevin?
Yeah, exactly. It's, with whatever you do, both of us are very big on restaurants. We want to try new restaurants. Books that you want to read. It's especially challenging with the impact of social media. You can be going through a social media feed and something pops up and says, according to the past 5 activities that you clicked on, you're interested in this. It's like, well, yeah, actually I am. I want to go do that, or I want to read that book. I want to go to that event. I want to go check out that website and see if they have clothes or knickknacks that I want. You need to capture that information. And Melissa had shown you some really nice physical books for putting this information in. If you're an electronic age child, you don't have to do that. You can use an app. It's just make a list on whatever you please. You can use your phone, a note feature on your phone, any of those things. It's just the idea of the spending book is to write down how you want to spend your money, so that when you decide that you're going to go spend your money, you know what to go look for.
Yeah.
I have the money. I'm going to go buy things. I'm going to go do this now. One of the great things is, if you're still in a position where you have friends or family or other relatives that give you money for your birthday, you have your spending book. After your birthday, you go take that money. You know what you're going to go buy. It's not a case of I've got money burning my hole in my pocket, I'm just going to go buy the first thing I see. No, here are the things that I've been wanting for several months, and that's incredibly useful.
This is the tool that increases your quality of life, because you're cutting through the clutter. You're going in a direct line toward the things that you truly want, that you have identified in advance. Now, that being said, Kevin and I are big proponents of taking advantage of serendipitous moments.
Sure.
What I don't ever want anybody to think about is that our message is about, if it isn't in the book, you can't buy it. You come across something that you just gets you so excited in that moment and you can afford it, pull the trigger on it, right? This just helps you to define in advance. And there's a couple of extra benefits of doing this. It's anybody who uses Pinterest knows that you start pinning things on Pinterest and all of a sudden you start to see a pattern. Right? I learned that very early on. I realized that I have well, as you can see from my office, I like, browns, natural tones, natural colors. As you can see from my wardrobe, I like the color black. But you get to see, wow, I'm gravitating towards these particular types of movies. I'm gravitating towards these particular types of restaurants. And then you can turn on your reticular activating system to start to really open up. And all of a sudden you're seeing even more of those because you've realized, wow, there's that pattern there. And you're that much more aware to take advantage of those particular things. I would like to, if you will allow me, to give one speech of defense in writing down and using a book versus an app. Now, if you're more inclined to use an app, please do. But for those of you creative types, there's something about putting pen to paper, and truly it's almost like an art form. It's a creative process as you're filling out your spending plan of what you want your life to look like in all these different areas. There's just an enjoyment and an enrichment in that process that you won't necessarily get with an app. I have a tiny bit of Luddite in me. I have an appreciation for technology, but I'm tactile, and I just find so much enjoyment and pleasure out of it. And I say that because I know that there are so many other people out there that similarly purchasing a book that you get so excited about writing. And that was a key piece for a lot of clients in getting them to change over. Mm-hmm. Get something that you're not going to be, you don't want to get a 3-ring notebook or a spiral notebook if it's just like, okay, it's a reminder that I'm like trying to be better about my money. No, this is a reminder that you're trying to be savvy and be purposeful, right? So this is actually one that I've had around. I think my spending book's actually in my purse in the other room.
The other advantage of a spending book is that it just gives you a little bit of a cooling off period, and it lets you see your priorities. It's that if you come across something, you make a note of it. It's like, oh, this is really interesting. I think I'd like this. Come back 3 weeks later, look at it, and do you even remember what you wrote down? If you do, okay, maybe that is important to you, and you should start looking for it and thinking about buying it. The other thing it does is it helps you do a little bit of the prioritization. As Melissa said, we're great proponents of enjoying the moment and spontaneity. But if you're out at a festival and you see something that you want to buy, we do a lot of festivals. One of the things that you can do is say, oh, I really like that. What do I have in my spending book that's maybe comparable in dollar value? Which would I rather have? So now you can make the choice, and that way you're being financially responsible. You're getting the things that you want. It gives you a chance to really decide if this is something that I want. When we're out and about, and especially like when we're on vacations and going places, and again, I come back to the whole festivals and street fairs and things like that. Those are prime opportunities for people to make purchases in the heat of the moment. Some of them are serendipitous and good. Some of them are just kind of silly, and you buy something and 2 days later you're thinking, what in the heck was I thinking when I did this? If you have the spending book, it just gives you a little bit of a pause to say, okay, how does that fit in with everything else? If it fits in, great, go do it. If it doesn't, it's like, yeah, you know what, I think I'd rather save that money because I have this thing in the book that I want to buy. So it's really useful for that.
What you're talking about right there is really, it's a trigger to create that habit of just weighing things. Not about not spending. It's just about giving yourself that moment, that breath of choice.
Yep.
I rather, right?
Yep. Exactly.
One of the themes that Kevin and I have been talking about more and more, back up, client story. So I'm working with this couple in New York, in Brooklyn specifically, and they run a successful animation studio. And of course, media, all things media, are something that they have a big consumption on. Vinyl records, movies for purchase for their library, and comic books. And I was talking to the spouse, and we were talking back and forth, and he was talking about, I want to get better about being more picky about things like the comic books that I want to buy. And I had this moment where I thought, you want to curate. You don't want to just buy and consume. What you're talking about is you're at a point, and I think any collector start out and you're just like buying what you can get a hold of, but you hit a tipping point where you don't want it just everything because it dilutes your collection, right? You want the specific things. And that was such a moment for all three of us on that call. If you can think of it in terms of curating, it just shifts it. And I want to be very careful because we're not trying to put lipstick on a pig. That's not what it is. It's truly just a small shift in the way of thinking, right? This isn't about, but it is about budgeting from the perspective of you only have so much money and you want to make sure that it's going where you want it to go. But it's about looking at it from an enriching standpoint, not from I can't afford that standpoint, right?
Yeah. I think that's the real difference. So the spending book gives you a little bit of guidance and structure so that you're making purchases that really will enrich your life. That is the real key to it.
Yeah. One other thing about the spending book that we talk a lot more around the holidays, but they can be used throughout the year. A lot of what we teach is about timing purchases, right? So it's about knowing when is the best time to buy a car so you can save a couple $1,000s, or your refrigerator, or whatever your wardrobe, right? With a spending book, you're writing these items down, and then as each week goes on, you can decide, hey, that's right, it's Memorial Day weekend. That now is one of the better times to buy a refrigerator because they're going to have their blowout sales.
Yeah.
And so it just allows you to not only buy what you focused on, what you really want to buy, but it also allows you to potentially do it at the price you want to pay. So that timing that with sales, paying attention to your favorite store sales, or searching specifically for specific items is powerful. Yeah. So I think you had mentioned about a spending book really being about it's writing down the story you want to live.
Well, yeah, there is that. That is exactly what it goes into. Is that as you're trying to plan how you spend your money, what you're really doing is you're planning how you want to live your life. You start with that, and then you figure out, what do I need to buy to do that, and what do I not need to buy in order to accomplish that. The spending book is exactly where you write that down and you craft what you want your life to look like.
Right. And where a spending book plans the purchases you want to make, a spending book really shows you how do you fund that, right? Mm-hmm. And so whether you're creating that spending plan, that overall financial plan yourself, or you hire a resource like us, the Savvy Life, that's really all about preventing you from wandering aimlessly, right? You're going in a straight line, buying the things you want to buy, rather than just bleeding money as you go about your days, your weeks, your months, and your years. Yeah. And there's something that you said, Kevin, that I know that's supposed to be our wrap up, but there's something you said about so much of this is about living the life you want is about what you don't bring into your life. And that, while we've been saying it kind of on the flip side, I think it's important to say that the things that you say no to are very powerful in also crafting that life you want to live. A little bit, looking at it from the negative perspective.
Yep.
Negative.
Exactly. Exactly. Negative space. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. All right. And with that, I could talk about this subject all day long. If you would like, we can go on for another hour. But you guys got other things to watch on YouTube, including our other videos, which you can find by liking and subscribing. You can also check us out at our website, thesavvylife.com. Kevin, where else are we?
We're on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn. So please find us on LinkedIn and link up. We love to talk and have really great discussions about all things money and life. That covers a lot of subjects.
All about purposeful spending. Thanks so much, you guys.
Thank you.